Hello, colleagues. Thank you very much for joining us today. I hope you are having either a good morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you've decided to join in to today's presentation. My name is Sarah Elliot, and I'm the Attainment Advisor with Education Scotland, attached to Moray Local Authority. And today I'm joined by my colleague Marielle Bruce, who's the Youth Work in Schools Partnership Manager with YouthLink Scotland. One of the benefits of having a pre-recorded presentation is if you need to nip away and top up your tea or coffee, you can simply press pause and rejoin at a later time that suits you. So thank you very much, and let's get started with today's presentation. As part of Equity Week, Marielle and I are going to consider partnerships for equity and how multi-agency working can add value to your context. We will firstly do this by exploring broad and interchangeable definitions that support multi-agency working. We will consider the benefits and challenges of implementing such work into your practice, and we'll consider examples from the third sector and youth work fields. We will start by exploring who are the third sector and how they link with the Scottish Attainment Challenge, and how they can support any work you are planning or currently delivering within your context. We will explore a 7-step cycle that can be followed to increase chances of success, and Marielle will provide an overview of what youth work is and how it can add value to new or existing plans, and will bring this to life with exciting practice examples from the North. We hope the takeaways from today's session will be increased understanding of multi-agency working, supported by top tips for embedding this within your context, and through sharing of case studies from within the North. Marielle's and I details are provided at the end of today's presentation. Therefore, if you have any questions or feedback for us, please do send us a wee email. Thank you. Multi-agency working can be interpreted in many different ways and does not have a straightforward meaning. It is typically used interchangeably with collaboration, coalition, partnership and joint working, which can either be informal or formal and can happen at all levels in an empowered system. Therefore, the landscape of multi-agency working can be complex, encompassing a wide range of different types of collaborative activities with a range of partners. As described by Webb, multi-agency working is about addressing the need of learners using an integrated approach with education establishments and the wider community. Supporting children and young people in their learning involves a range of people, including parents and carers, nursery teachers, allied health professionals such as school nurses and CAMS team, frontline teachers and practitioners, psychological services, voluntary organisations, local authorities and youth work provision. Partnership working is an important element in curriculum planning. The term should be interpreted widely to include all those who can contribute to the delivery of the experiences and outcomes and development of the 4 capacities. Schools collaborate for a multitude of reasons, over different timelines and with varying degrees of success in terms of impact and sustainability. Therefore, it is essential that partners play a full role in the empowered system to improve outcomes for children, young people, families and communities. In an empowered system, there is the opportunity to make connections with new individuals, groups and organisations, to work in partnership that shape and lead learning and teaching, and to help all learners achieve excellence. The goal is one of independent and equal partners collaborating within a common framework. This is underpinned by a shared commitment to improving outcomes for all children and young people, while supporting multi-agency working can lead to significant and sustainable improvement and raise the attainment of pupils. Long-term partnerships where schools tackle issues of mutual concern brings mutual success, especially when this forms part of existing improvement planning. Greater innovation is one of the clearest advantages of multi-agency working. It can last for a fixed length of time, such as responding to immediate need, for example working in a childcare hub during lockdown, or being part of a planned 1-year PEF cycle, or can form a permanent arrangement with a local authority or school. What these options have in common is that they involve some sort of exchange for mutual advantage that ultimately benefits the pupil, their family and their life chances. Whilst there is no single path to success, there is a number of principles that are useful to consider, which this presentation will now explore. Firstly, we will consider what are the benefits of multi-agency working and how this can be applied in practice. We would recommend that you don't underestimate the time and energy required to create and nurture an effective partnership. However, that being said, there are many benefits that can come from effective multi-agency working. They can inspire great ideas. Involving partners can help with the creative process and introduce you to new, creative and innovative practices that you may not be aware of. Multi-agency working can overcome engagement barriers via perceived independence from statutory agencies. For example, sometimes being branded as a worker from school can present barriers. Therefore, having someone work with families that is indirectly representing the school can help mitigate against barriers that parents and pupils may be facing. They can also share their experiences and expertise with you. Working with people who have previously worked in this field can help guide you through unfamiliar processes and also assist with your own professional development. Multi-agency working can increase your capacity within your school. Partners can help you to reach a wide range of audiences also. For example, a key contact within a local community with disengaged parents may help you break down perceived barriers and broker new and healthy relationships with parents. This also provides an opportunity, as many partners will be looking for people to contribute to their own events or activities. It may be that you could support what they are doing rather than inventing something new yourself, which would meet both the needs of the school and the partners. You are therefore not creating a dependency on just the school who can offer support, but introducing to parents and pupils wider support networks that will be around when school is closed or during holidays. Multi-agency working can also provide expertise. Partners can be crucial in providing expertise if you are new to these processes. For example, if parents are reluctant to come into school, could you use third sector family support workers to offer an outreach service in the community, with the long-term goal being to support parents to engage with the child's learning? Working with partners can deepen and strengthen your relationships, as well as introducing you to new people and new ideas. This may lead to new projects in the future that your school could benefit from. You may have come across some colleagues that are sceptical and resistant to multi-agency and partnership working. Research from Lindsay and Woods has highlighted that this can be related to perceived power imbalances and feeling not in control of what the schools are delivering. Additional workload associated with collaborative activities and difficulties in establishing shared objectives and common goals are also noted. Some colleagues may also feel that the level of input required does not always yield the desired level of output. Therefore, for colleagues that are struggling to grasp this concept, it may be worth considering delivering inputs or signposting them to refresh their understanding of Quality Indicator 2.7 from Higgius 4, which provides illustrations and features of highly effective practice. This can help highlight to colleagues that may be hesitant to multi-agency working the positive impact that this can have for the school, the learner, and their family and wider community. The questions from 2.7 can support and challenge practitioners' thinking and facilitate some interesting discussions amongst staff that can help your planning and assessment of what added value partnerships can bring to your context. As we have explored, there are a range of partnerships that schools can enter into with a host of different providers, which include police, social work, health, university, CLD, Sports Scotland, YouthLink Scotland and Third Sector. This list is by no means exhaustive, but gives an indication of the varied and vast partnerships that can exist. We're going to explore who the third sector are and how they can offer innovative and creative solutions to assist with closing the poverty-related attainment gap. Third sector is a term used to describe the range of organisations that are neither public nor private. It is an umbrella term that covers a range of different organisations with different structures and purposes. It includes voluntary and community groups, both registered charities and other organisations such as informal community groups, social enterprises and cooperatives. Third sector organisations operate at all levels of society, from the very local to the national and the international. They make a significant and rapidly increasing contribution to the health and well-being of society, both in the UK and abroad. As well as large national organisations, there are thousands of small, effective, grassroots community organisations that are well placed to support delivery in partnership with schools. In 2014, NCVO estimated that 48% of the third sector workforce in the UK was employed at organisations with 25 staff or fewer. Despite their size, many small grassroots third sector organisations, known as community groups, bring experience of supporting children and their families with an ability to forge strong community links and have robust understanding of the local narrative and the hidden barriers that some communities are facing. The third sector has experience in delivering projects which address each of the 3 priorities identified in the Scottish Attainment Challenge, but is particularly well placed to support improvements to health and well-being and to improve employability schools and school leaver destinations. One of the primary levers for change is recognised as successful engagement with families and communities, and it is here that the third sector can be of a particular value. The introduction of different streams of the Scottish Attainment Challenge funding has allowed schools and local authorities to work directly with a large number of third sector organisations. Schools are already seeing how the third sector brings a different approach to complement their work in closing the poverty-related attainment gap. It can be a challenge to navigate through the offer from the third sector. However, we hope to provide you with key contacts and processes to use when exploring collaborative working with the third sector. So who can help you navigate this complex and sometimes daunting landscape? Across Scotland, the third sector, including charities, development trusts, community organisations, volunteers and social enterprises, are supported by a third sector interface, also known as the TSI network, which is funded by the Scottish Government. In some local authority areas, this can be a single door organisations where they combine all the work and functions of support under one roof. Throughout Scotland, the TSI network organisations vary in their roles. Many provide other services to the third sector in their local areas, for example, research provision, community newsletters, digital services, training, or provide core work for the local authority or health and social care partnerships. However, the overarching aims remain the same: to promote, support, build resilience, celebrate, and help to be the voice of the local third sector in your area. Now, the TSI networks organisations are working together to demonstrate how our work across Scotland is transforming lives, communities and meeting the National Performance Framework and key legislative aims of the Scottish Government. This includes tackling social inequalities and supporting the Scottish Attainment Challenge. Therefore, TSIs play an important role in third sector landscape. They are key points of intelligence about local third sector organisations and volunteering opportunities. They understand the local landscape and how it affects the third sector's ability to contribute to local outcomes and national strategies, such as health and social care, community empowerment and COVID recovery. TSIs can identify third sector issues and perspectives that can feed into both local and national plans. The TSI role is complex. They support people and the general sector as well as member organisations. They provide support across all policy areas and client groups, including education and schools. The local sector itself is very diverse, with different needs and different perspectives. While this is challenging, and it does mean that TSIs occupy a unique and important place and have a detailed understanding of the local narrative, including the needs and priorities and the barriers that may be faced, such as rural v urban provision. To find your local TSI, please follow the link above, which will give you the contact details, including email and telephone numbers for each local authority throughout Scotland. Working in partnership with third sector organisations can be done on an informal or formal basis. The next section of this presentation will consider formal multi-agency working and why it is important to consider steps to protect both your school and partner organisations. As you may be aware, some providers will only work in specific geographical locations, or national organisations potentially will work across Scotland. They will all vary in size and their capacity to engage with schools. Due to this variance, it can be hard to know what is the offer within your area and how to access such services. This is why, as discussed, it is critical that you make contact with your local TCI and explore local providers that are already operating within your geographical area and assess if providers can help meet the need within your school and context. This diagram has been developed to highlight the 7 key steps that could be undertaken when considering collaborating with partners to close the poverty-related attainment gap within your school. The steps highlighted can be adapted to suit any context when you're considering collaborating with others. What should be highlighted at this stage is that there are a number of commonalities within the literature with regard to the conditions that foster effective multi-agency working within schools. Strong leadership, well-defined and robust structures and processes, clear communication and sensitivity to context are amongst the most commonly cited. Therefore, using this cycle in isolation will not guarantee a successful partnership if a strong foundation is not first created. We will explore each step individually and consider some of the questions that you could explore with your team. Before you start this cycle, think about why you want to collaborate. Collaboration needs to be driven by a sensible need. If you want to work with new partners, seek out organisations that complement your skills and objectives. Get recommendations from others who have worked with them and listen to what has not worked well and why. Step 1 is critical. Consider all the relevant places you can access data. If you missed Grant Murray's from the RIC and Alison Thompson's from Education Scotland's presentation on Monday that focused on data and data sets, I would recommend that you access this via the Equity Week website. This will give you a detailed introduction into the many different data sets that you can use to understand your local context. You and your staff should interrogate this data, which should help you to formalise ideas on what your end goal is and the vision for your school. Collating and understanding your data at this stage will help formulate ideas and also provide the rationale and evidence to why a certain approach is being explored. Remember, your QIO or QIM and attainment advisor can help with this if required. Step 2. Consider if other schools in the local authority have similar needs to see if you can jointly commission work from third sector organisations, ensuring that a best value approach is adopted. This can have a number of benefits, including sharing work associated with managing the contract, helping you to achieve economies of scale on pricing, and allowing the third sector organisation an opportunity to adapt their model to meet your needs. For example, smaller third sector organisations may need to recruit more staff to deliver the service, which might not be feasible if only one school is commissioning work from them. Secondary schools can also explore collaborative working with primary schools to see if anything innovative and creative can be developed. In stage 1, you will have collected all the relevant data. If you have not already done so, you will need to align the data with your own local intelligence to inform an accurate picture of the context you are working in. As part of finalising the jigsaw, best practice would indicate that the school should undertake wider consultation with pupils, parents and communities. You will already know of some existing groups within the school catchment area. However, how can you gain access to parents and children that may be marginalised and who may not be represented on formal groups such as parent councils? You can contact your local CLD team and TCI who can put you in contact with relevant groups running within your local authority areas. Now that you have collated evidence and data, have a good understanding of the local narrative, and know what children and families' wants and needs are, you now need to consider the fourth side of the triangle. It is critical that you interrogate and make sense of the data. It can be helpful to note down your assumptions and hypotheses, such as there is very little opportunities for children and families to engage in informal learning out with school. Spending time on this task will ensure that you have robust evidence to support or reject your hypothesis. This process will also help collate evidence to why you are needing to work in partnership with others and what added value this will bring. This may also highlight that, in fact, with a small change to practice in school, there is not a need to enter into a formal or informal partnership arrangement. However, if we are to take the assumption that your interrogation has highlighted a gap that multi-agency partnership working can fill, you will need to agree what your objectives are and who can support you to achieve these. As we've explored, there are many different partnerships and many different reasons to why you might want to develop them. Some partners will help you generate ideas or develop content, others will help you to design your engagement activity, and some will be able to share their skills and knowledge to ensure your activity or targeted intervention is a success. What is critical at this stage is starting to shortlist partners that you could possibly work in collaboration with. Ask to see them operating in practice. Speak to others who have commissioned them previously. See how their visions and values align with your own. A basic checklist can help you keep track of your initial thoughts if you are meeting with multiple providers. Before you enter into any formal or informal arrangement, it is really important to think through why you want to work in partnership and why your partners might want to work with you. Therefore, stage 3 is a critical stage that will make or break any new collaborative working arrangement. As well as managing this new relationship, you will need to consider how your selected partner will support children and young people and their families. You will need to consider what change the partner can bring and instigate to the school that the school cannot do in isolation, and how this intervention or support is sustainable. Considering the sustainability early on is critical. Therefore, multi-agency management begins long before the project gets off the ground, and there are a number of things you should establish up front in order to avoid problems later. Collaborative organisations need to share information and ideas and agree methodology. The methodology requires a shared understanding of what the baseline measurement is and captures where you are now, which you will have done as part of step 1 of this cycle, and where you would like to be by working in partnership with others, which was step 2 of this cycle. Step 3 should therefore include agreeing what you need to do to get there and how you can collaborate with others to achieve this. If you don't get the implementation cycle right, no matter how good or innovative your intervention or partnership is, it will fail or not be as good as it could be. Ensure you have frank conversations with your potential partners about their and your expectations. Misunderstandings can lead to problems later down the track, and lack of communication is the most common reason partnerships falter. Effective communication can help to build relationships, keep things working well, and make people feel included. Therefore, try to maintain regular contact with each of your partners. Establishing leadership roles and responsibilities early on is critical. Therefore, be clear who is on your implementation team and who are their key players. In the first flush of partnerships, it's hard to imagine anything will ever go wrong, but it is important to establish what will happen if things do go wrong or your partner does not keep to their end of the bargain. Is there someone who is taking responsibility for the project from their side and yours? Be clear and identify them from the outset. Therefore, plan, and plan again. Once you've agreed aims and objectives, establish key milestones and deliverables for each partner. It is advisable to draw up written agreements to ensure everyone is clear, whether in the form of formal written contracts or meeting minutes. Actions which have been circulated and approved via email would also be appropriate to store and save. Timelines are invaluable to ensure that each partner knows what they are doing and when they are due to return. A detailed plan will enable you to manage the process effectively. Ensure that responsibility for each step has been assigned to someone in the partnership, which is why it is critical that a clear joint vision is agreed from the outset. Following this cycle of the model for improvement will allow you to focus on something small, which will allow you to deliver something really good, rather than trying to deliver something amazing and fall at the first hurdle. Finally, it is worth considering reflecting. Monitor your progress continually and adjust where necessary. Work out what is working well and what is not working, and whether milestones will be achievable or if things need to change. This is essential in managing not only your budget but also the partnership. Adopting this approach will also inform you on the best way to manage partnerships in the future. Formalising the partnership will require you to explore commissioning guidance, procurement policies and related governance arrangements. These will vary from council to council across Scotland, so speak to your corporate procurement team as well as your quality improvement officer or attainment advisor for assistance as soon as you think you may be interested in multi-agency working. There are a range of approaches that can be taken to commission services. It is essential that you check the procurement policies and guidelines for your local area before entering into any formal partnerships. Depending on the value of your contract, you may need to enter into formal procurement procedures. For example, if the contract value is over £50,000, this will be regulated under the Procurement Reform Scotland Act of 2014 and therefore subject to defined procurement procedures which will protect both parties. However, if your budget is less than £50,000, you do not need to enter into any formal procurement processes. It is always best practice, however, to check that any third sector organisation you intend to commission has the necessary policies and procedures in place and understands the broader education context, including knowledge of key policies such as the National Improvement Framework, Curriculum for Excellence and GERFIC. A risk assessment will need to be carried out, and it must be made clear when school policies such as child protection would take precedence over those of the third sector organisation. In accordance with your council's procurement arrangements, and after the necessary due diligence work has been completed, if you are not developing a terms of reference, you should ask the service provider for a service level agreement or a partnership agreement. This can be negotiated with the provider. Therefore, if you are uncomfortable with any of its content or want something added, amended or reworded, don't be afraid to challenge this. This is a document that keeps both parties safe and may need to be escalated to the head of service to be signed off. This ensures accountability and agreed expectations, including responsibilities, outcomes and outputs. This needs to be clear about which each party will bring to the table, and in particular it can be useful if things go wrong or personnel change and any resources that were being provided by partners, such as in-kind offers for premises, access to bid writing team to lead or sourcing external grants. As part of this agreement, it should be clear from the outset how impact will be tracked and measured against the outcomes and indicators that have been decided upon, and how often the provider will capture and collate this data for the school. Again, attainment advisors and quality improvement officers will be able to assist with this. Any documentation should also specify the time frames of the agreement or contract, such as 6 months, 1 year, and how and when the service will be reviewed and adapted as necessary. Higgius 4, page 28 and 29 of Management of Resources to Promote Equity may be a useful resource for you to consider. Any agreement should explore what added value the partner can bring to the table. This is especially useful if you have to decide between two providers that are offering a similar model. For example, can they apply for additional pots of money to enhance or complement the partnership? Many large third sector organisations have professional bid writing teams that can source grants and trusts that schools and local authorities wouldn't ordinarily be able to access independently. This is an opportunity to explore future funding collaborations, which helps create a sustainable model for your school. Remember, you will need to populate your local authority's paperwork at this stage and ensure that you are communicating with the finance team regarding your budget forecasts. It is good practice to do this at this stage, as you will need to communicate with your partners what the payment arrangements are, such as one month or a quarter in arrears. This may have an impact for smaller organisations that you are partnering with, as they may not have the revenue to cover staff costs for more than 1 month. Therefore, open and transparent conversations at this stage are critical. When considering the logistics of your partnership, try to capture all associated liabilities. This will hopefully be clear from any service level agreement or terms of references that you have signed, but it would be worth checking certain things such as HR related issues and what staff member will be in charge of recruitment, backfilling posts, managing sickness, providing supervision and delivering APAs. You will also need to negotiate what paperwork is going to be used to ensure consistency of collating data from the partner. Is there a bespoke referral pathway that will be used, and how will this be populated? You might be able to use existing evaluation frameworks, and you can consider the National Improvement Hub Defining Good Outcomes as a guide. You will need to explore the recording paperwork that will be used and agree how this will be stored and shared. You will also need to consider what are the agreed thresholds and when should a child stop needing support to ensure that a dependency is not created. You will have to agree what the planned exit strategy is and what options are available for the child and the family. You should have a shared understanding of thresholds, and potential training may need to be undertaken between the two staff teams to ensure that a consistent approach is delivered. You may also need to consider wider staffing needs when you are merging two existing teams together. This can even be simply having one worker co-located from the partner organisation into your school. This can help break down barriers, look at clear communication roles, and also ensure that any emerging concerns are addressed immediately. Most third sector organisations will already have their own robust measurement systems in place, so you probably won't need to start from scratch. Make sure you review the data at regular intervals so you can make any changes and improvement if the work isn't delivering the outcomes and impact that you had hoped. You will still need to define what assessment tools you are going to use that will give you the qualitative and quantitative data that will evidence the impact that the collaboration is having on children and young people. You will also need to ensure that any assessment tools that have a budget attached to it form part of your budget forecasting. You will need to agree how often you're going to track and capture data and what pro forma template you're going to use to share the outcomes and outputs with families and pupils. Can you consider social media or newsletters? Importantly, you need to consider how we are capturing the child and family's voice and how this is shaping the project redesign. To support this, you can also consider the model for improvement that provides a framework for developing, testing and implementing change. Ensuring that good communication takes place across all partners, both within the school and across the wider community, is critical. You can inform them of the impact and the outcomes and outputs that have been achieved, and also engage them as and when required to shape project delivery. There are several options to how you can successfully do this, including using talking walls to close the feedback loop, social media, and via the school's newsletter. Capturing case studies will also help to evidence impact, and don't forget about the pupil's voice. This can be hugely impactful, not just for them and their family, but also for the school. As part of capturing the impact, be sure to note down the intended and unintended impact that your intervention and collaboration has made. Detail the outcomes measured and the change over time from your baseline assessment. You may wish to consider adopting different writing styles depending on your intended audience. Do you need a strategic document that you can share with other schools and ASGs and a shorter, easier read for pupils and parents? Once you have captured and measured impact, consider adopting, abandoning, or adapting certain interventions as part of your evaluation. Finally, be sure to share your learning with others, and more importantly, celebrate success. Ensure that your QIO and attainment advisor are aware of what has worked well and what you would do differently next time. They can help disseminate this learning across the RIC and share new and emerging practices with colleagues. If you have used the model for improvement, you can use this to start to plan your next PDSA cycle, which can ensure a legacy is created and a sustainable approach is adopted by the school. As we have explored, working in partnership can reap huge rewards and deliver extensive results for pupils and their families. The whole is greater than the sum of its partners. To conclude this part of the presentation, we will recap some top tips when planning to work in partnership and collaborate with others. It is important to be clear and honest from the start about what you want to get from the partnership and ask your partners to do the same. Share any uncomfortable truths and manage expectations. It will make things much easier in the long run. Never agree to something that you will know that you can't deliver on or that makes you feel uncomfortable just to get a partnership off the ground. It will inevitably backfire. The best partnerships build on each partner bringing their strengths to the table. If you think you could do everything better than your partner, then why are you partnering with them? Equally, if you are better placed to deliver the whole project, why are you partnering or collaborating with others? Don't get into bed with a partner just to attract funding. Big does not mean better. Ensure you explore all possible partners. That includes the smaller organisations that can sometimes have greater offers as they fit your context better. They may already be operating within your area and will have the resources to immediately respond to your need. Don't choose partners whose interests conflict with your school. Ensure that you are partnered with the right person. Do they have the right kind of expertise? Are they in a position to agree to what you want them to deliver? And are all the valid questions that you have asked them being responded to? Don't rush. Take time to build the relationship and make sure you have processes and partnership agreements in place before you undertake any joint activity. Think both short-term and long-term. It's useful to have short-term benefits as it gets people round the table, but collaboration is about being in it for the long haul. Listen carefully to the voices outside the partnership too. There's lots of benefits to being gained from hearing how others perceive you. Spend time with your key stakeholders to ensure they understand the full depth and vision of the partnership and collaboration, and consider if pupils can be part of some of these meetings and how they can shape this. Put something in writing about the partnership or collaborative, be this via terms of reference or even better, a service level agreement. State what you have agreed each partner will do and when they will do it. Be sure to review the partnership regularly. If something isn't working, say so. Be aware of staff changes. You may need to brief new members of staff on the whys and whereabouts of the partnership. Most problems are caused by how organisations work differently day to day, such as how a school operates and how a charity or community organisation is managed will be very different. Be clear and upfront about timeframes regarding invoices and how things need to be paid. You will need to explore logos, languages, publicity material, and possible thresholds. If you foresee a problem at your end, give your partner as much warning as you can, encourage them to do the same for you. As we've said, don't rush and take time to build those relationships. Accept that some projects are never meant to get off the ground. If attempts to resolve conflicts or stir up actions have been unsuccessful, you may need to consider dissolving the potential partnership or collaboration. Thank all partners for the contribution and go your separate ways. Try and leave things positive and stay in touch. There may be other ways you could work together in the future. Think laterally and strategically. People sometimes work in silos. We need to be more visionary and think beyond the interests of our own organisations and about the interests of those we want to serve, the pupils and families within our communities. We will now hear from Marielle, who will explore with us youth work provision and give some interesting and exciting examples of how youth work has been delivered within the North.